Out of about 8 billion people living on planet Earth, 2 billion people don't have access to safe water. In sub-Saharan Africa, including Cameroon, about 58% of the population don't have access to potable water. Now, despite the enormous resource in underground water, most taps in Cameroon still run dry. And this has not only made life difficult for citizens, it has also resulted to the emergence of waterborne diseases like cholera we have today. In today's edition of the program, we are going to be looking at how Cameroon can effectively valorize its potential in underground water. Now, this is coming on the heels of this year's edition of the World Water Day. When we come back, we shall meet our guests. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us in today's edition of Planet Rise on Canal International. We are receiving two experts to discuss our topic of today. On my right, I have a natural resource and environmental manager. She's equally doing a PhD on environmental engineer. She is Madam Ake Nook. Hello, and thank you for joining us in today's edition of the program.
Hi, Regina. It's good, and it feels nice being on your program once again.
You're welcome. And we are also having somebody who is into water treatment. He is a water treatment expert working to make water portable here in the nation's economic capital, Douala. He is Mr. Sa Nono Dovar Romaric. Thank you so much for joining us in today's edition of the program.
Thank you, Madam Regina, to have invited me to this wonderful program.
Now, we are talking about World Water Day in this edition of Planet Rise, and the theme was groundwater, making the invisible visible. I would like to turn to you, Madam Ake. What do you think about the theme of this year's celebration of World Water Day?
I think the theme has been well thought of, and it comes right just in time, because groundwater, though invisible, the impacts are actually visible in our lives every day. And it's a hidden treasure that we have, but we don't really take time to think about it. It's out of our minds. And I think this theme, making the invisible visible, has come to put groundwater on the spotlight.
What is groundwater in essence? Where is it found?
Groundwater is water that is found below, underneath the ground.
Okay.
So it's inside.
Underneath the earth? Within the ground, the earth. Okay.
Yeah, because when you say underneath the earth, it's kind of like
limiting.
It's under. But groundwater is within the ground, the soil. So you get to a certain level, you have aquifers, you have rocks that hold water. Okay. The soil holds water. Water particles move along soil pores. That's what we call groundwater. That water that we find beneath our feet, under the soil.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'd like to turn to you, Mr. Nono. When we talk about water, what are the qualities of water that is potable?
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Regina, for the question. But before I answer the question, I would like to show up some little demonstration.
Okay, let's watch.
I have these two bottles of water.
Okay. One
being colored to my right and one being clear.
Yes.
According to my perception,
according to what we can
my
see.
Senses. Yeah.
Yes.
It is to my right and to my left. Okay, I would like to ask you a question first.
Yes.
I know you asked question, but I'll ask a question this time around.
Okay.
Okay, according to you, between these two sources of water, which one is potable?
Well, just looking at the two bottles of water, I would say the one on your left, the one which is clear, is potable.
Okay. Actually, you are not totally wrong in what you're saying. It is actually so, because most of the time, human being, we make use of our perception senses to actually judge what we see in nature to take a decision, be it in every day of our life. So limiting yourself only to the perception sense to say the quality of water is not enough.
Okay.
If you limit yourself at that point, then you are going in wrong. Okay. So to talk about the quality of water, you need to look apart from the sensory, the sensory parameters. You need to look at the physical parameters.
Okay.
You need to look at the chemical parameters.
I mean, I'm not trying to cut you short. When we were in primary school, we're told that for water to be potable, it should have no smell, it should have no color. Talk to us more about those qualities, because those who are watching would want to know more.
Okay, exactly. That's why I was talking about your perception senses.
Yes,
that
in essence, what you're saying
sign.
is we don't just have to look at
Exactly.
the color, for example.
The color, for example, the odor, okay, and probably the taste.
Okay.
You don't have only to limit yourself, because like the two examples I just took to you, this one I've simply added coffee to it, but the two water, they are portable, you can drink them. So it's not a matter of looking at the color to say that, okay, this water is portable or it's not portable.
So apart from the color, what else should we look at?
Yes, I was
going to
unfolding the different quality parameters that you should assess.
Okay.
So I was talking about the physical parameters, you have the chemical parameters, you also have the biological parameters, and of course there's also another parameter which is true that is not yet very applicable to our areas. It's the radiological parameters. If I take a country, for example, like Japan, you've been hearing of that area being subjected to atomic bombs, things, and nonetheless of
Hiroshima and Nagasaki
disaster,
disaster,
with the problem of the nuclear power plant that happened
the nuclear power plant,
10 years behind. So it makes now the government of Japan to be looking now at the parameter of radiological parameter in terms of water analysis. And today we can also talk about also the coming up of pesticides and also fertilizers, which we are intensively using them in the field of agriculture.
We are going to have time to talk about some activities that can impact the quality of water, but I just want you to do us a resume of the qualities of potable water for a common man who is watching the program.
Okay, that's what I was saying. If today we cannot limit ourselves to the three no that we were taught in primary school. No color, no odor, no taste, to assess the quality of water, because today our environment has changed. The environment is no longer.
So how do I know that the water I'm drinking is potable or not potable?
Okay, that's a good question. For you to know whether the water you're drinking is potable or not potable, first you need to do a research on the type of water you're drinking. For example, where do we have access to water? We have access to water from our taps. Who is supplying the water you find at your tap? You need to know.
Yes.
If you're buying probably a bottled water, who is selling the bottled water, or who is conditioning the bottled water you have? So you need to have previous information.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to quickly turn to Madam Ake.
Could I add something to what he's saying?
Okay.
I think in effect it's like looking at the chemical content of the water, because there are certain compounds, certain elements that when found in water would make the water not good for consumption. For example, while I was doing my master's program, we had to compare two different water providers.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to compare the content, and one of them we realized that the concentration of nitrates found in the water made it not actually good for human consumption, because you actually don't need to have nitrates in
the water you drink.
You're drinking. And in effect, people have come to know this, and that company is gradually getting out of the market, because if you compare the chemical composition, the water is no longer potable. There is also the biological aspect of it. Yeah, there are certain bacteria that when found in water
makes the water unfit for drinking.
Yeah.
Talk to us about some of this bacteria.
For example, we have things like Escherichia coli. It's from human waste, from human waste actually. So when it's found in water, you start having people having running stomach, cholera, and
you're just evoking the situation we are facing. Almost 50 people have died in Limbe, southwest region of Cameroon, as a result of the cholera outbreak. And you're linking the situation to poor waste management, including human waste.
Yeah, including human waste. It's very necessary for us to look at human waste and the connection it has to our groundwater, both ground and surface water, because we sometimes think that it's just something we can bypass. We think that the earth would filter it. That is true, the earth filters. But how much do we release into the earth, and how close is it to the water table, to the groundwater? And when it gets there, if it's like the concentration is high, it's coming from here, coming from there, coming from here.
It will be difficult for the earth to adequately filter.
Yeah, to filter it.
We are going to stay with you, because my next question is talking about groundwater, and I want to really ask, how much groundwater is there, and how can Cameroon as a nation effectively harness this resource to make water available for its citizens?
Yeah, Regina, that's a very good question. And I'm not going to tell you that we have 10 tons of groundwater, we have 20 tons of groundwater. Actually, the earth is made up of 71% of water.
So we learned in primary school.
Good.
I'm going back to my primary school lessons.
Yeah, you know this.
Because I always have that. I've always asked the questions, and many people often ask, if the earth is made up of 70, or you're talking about 71% water and 30% land or so, why do we not have water?
Oh, so can I answer the first question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and out of the 71% of water, 97% of this water is salt water.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's salt water. It's sea water, ocean water, not really good for us for consumption.
Definitely.
Yes, so we can't really assess this as just
97%
of the 71% of water found on the earth, meaning that we're left with just 3%
groundwater
of fresh water.
Okay.
And the fresh water, in fresh water we have surface water and groundwater.
Okay.
So groundwater is left with almost about 1% or so, because from what we know, surface water takes about 2% of this. So meaning, even though groundwater supplies surface water, so we can generally say that groundwater is like 3%, considering that all fresh water, or most fresh water, is from groundwater.
Now, even though the percentage is kind of small, but how can Cameroon as a nation, I'll come back to the question, effectively harness this potential to be able to make potable water available for citizens?
Yeah, there are so many ways of harnessing water. Actually, I think at this moment, Cameroon hasn't really been seeing its water resources as if there is a big problem, even though there is a very big problem. There's water scarcity all over the place, there's water stress all over the place, and water shortages all over the place. I think the first thing that the state as a state should do is maybe put in some regulations, some controls. Yes, and in some places in India, this has actually been put into test and it has worked. Now, the control, who has power to assess and extract water, since we already have water shortages and water scarcity. So the state can use regulatory methods to see if they can control who does what with water. And to that effect, they could also look at those heavy users of fresh water, of groundwater, and actually, let them pay for the ecosystem services that they are using. So if you know you are going to pay for this is the amount of water you're extracting. Industries extract this water for their various uses. Agriculturalists, they do irrigation.
So they should be paying so that the money can also be used to provide water for citizens. We are going to come back to you. I'm going to turn very quickly to Mr. Nono, and the question I want to ask you is, you are a Cameroonian, and I'm sure you have a tap in your house. When you look at the water that flows from the tap, without any intention to bring down anybody, what would you say? Because I have something I can say, but I want to first of all ask you.
Okay. Firstly, well, it depends. Tap water comes from different origin. For example,
tap water. Of course, we have a water utility company. So I'm talking about tap water.
I, as a normal Cameroonian, based on the water that I have in my house, if I'm limiting myself only to the primary analysis that was told in primary school, no taste, no color, for the moment I can cope with it.
Okay, so where do you live?
I live in Village.
Ah, really? That's interesting. Because maybe I don't have the same experience with you. Earlier on, I was talking with Madame Ake, because most people, especially in the nation's economic capital, Douala, are forced to consume mineral water. I'm talking like myself. You can imagine with the tide resources, you have to consume mineral water because the water that comes out from the tap sometimes is very brown. Sometimes it has this odor that when you want to drink, you get the scent. It's very disturbing. And so when you care about your health, you want to take other measures. So if you say that yours is fine, you are a water treatment specialist, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to do treatment for different people. What do you see when you go around in different areas? Maybe you're one of the lucky Cameroonians. What have you seen in other areas?
Okay. Before I answer the question, I would like to come back again on what I first said.
Okay.
To make it very
some
clear.
adjustments.
Yes, some adjustment. Actually, I was saying that as a normal Cameroonian, limiting myself only to the primary knowledge, not talking as a water specialist. Okay. Because if I'm talking as a water specialist, then I will say that I cannot even put that water in my mouth.
That is what I want to hear.
As a water specialist, I cannot, because I don't know the quality. I don't know the quality of the water. I cannot limit myself only to the sensory parameters that I earlier mentioned to actually say that, okay, this water is potable or this water is non-potable.
But this should be very challenging, because from what you're saying,
yes,
you cannot drink water if you've not tested, if you've not done some kind of analysis.
Yes.
I bet you most Cameroonians cannot afford to do analysis of their water. What's the way out?
Yes, madam. Okay, thank you very much for that question. Okay. There are different levels
because
of
most Cameroonians, as you're saying, will just look at the sensory part of it and consume, but without knowing what is inside. So what's the way forward?
Okay, thank you. Leave me to more elaborate on it. Okay, I was saying that there are different levels, okay? If, for example, you as a Cameroonian, you're limiting yourself, for example, to the Cameroon Utility Corporation, the company for distribution water. Okay. Okay. At that level, we know that it is a national company, and that the water it sends to us is treated water. Okay. I talk as a specialist, so it is treated water. Okay. Okay. For that one, you as a normal Cameroonian, normal individual, you don't have enough money, because if the cubic meter is 293 francs. Okay. For a cubic liter, 1,000 liter. That's the price that is sold, that the national company sells. Self-water. Okay. You as a second individual, probably you have a borehole. Okay. In your house. Okay. You say that, okay, I have enough money. I want to have a borehole. Okay. Okay. If you decide already to have a borehole, noting that a borehole is simply, it's a technique that gives you access to water. But in no way it gives you any guarantee about the quality of the water. So it is of your responsibility to analyze that water first to know whether it is potable before you can start using it. We are going to take a quick little break, and we are going to watch this report coming to us from the nation's capital, Yaoundé, about water scarcity. The report was done for us by Hyson Chia. We are going to watch the report, and when we come back, we'll just continue with our discussion. Stay with us.
C'est depuis la nuit des temps, depuis que toi mais qui existe, on n'a pas d'eau ici en bas. On n'a pas d'eau. L'eau s'arrête juste chez les grands types là-bas en haut là. Ici en bas, nous on souffre.
They have been waiting for water, but the taps remain dry. Etouameki, just like many other neighborhoods in Yaoundé, still suffering from the scarcity of the precious liquid.
Beaucoup des années, est-ce qu'il n'y a même pas qu'il y avait des tuyaux cassés? On n'a jamais fait ça. Jamais, jamais. Nous souffrons pour l'eau potable ici.
On peut même faire même un an, on ne voit pas l'eau. Surtout quand c'est la saison sèche comme ça, il n'y a pas l'eau.
In quarters like Emana and Etudi, many have turned to embrace different alternatives, setting up wells and boreholes that can supply them water on daily basis. Those who cannot afford constructing jets go queuing up on nearby compounds or public places like the mosques and churches to get the basic needs.
Tous ces mondes que vous voyez là, ils sortent de très loin. manque d'eau dans la zone de Yaoundé Premier. C'est pour ça qu'ils viennent se ravitailler ici à la mosquée.
Je sors d'un Ngousso comme ça, je suis à la recherche de l'eau. Depuis une semaine, on n'a pas l'eau chez nous en Ngousso. Donc on souffre.
The quality of the water most often not fit for drinking. In commemoration of the World Water Day, this March 22nd, under the theme Groundwater Making the Invisible Visible, Cameroon, like many other countries, are challenged to valorize and boost the multiplication of groundwater points to meet the demands of the growing population. The Cameroon Water Utility Service, in this 30th edition of World Water Day, has attributed the scarcity of water in major towns to unstable electricity, the dysfunctioning of water generators, among others. However, government promises to multiply mechanisms to regulate the situation.
In Yaoundé, we have one project that we call PAEPIS, the project projet d'alimentation en eau potable de la ville de Yaoundé à partir du fleuve Sanaga. This project will bring 1,000 cubic meters in Yaoundé.
Experts have equally underlined the need to decentralize the supply of water into the hands of local authorities for a better day-to-day follow-up.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're on to Planet Rise on Canal International. We're going to continue with our discussions after watching that report. I'm going to turn to you, Mr. Nono. We're talking about water scarcity. You've seen the pictures in the report. What do you think accounts for water scarcity in Cameroon today?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Okay, if we look at water quality, would look at the scarcity of water in terms of probably the national company, distribution company, who mostly attribute the lack of water probably to problems linked to electricity, energy problem, because we have to understand that before water gets to our tap, there are pumps. They are used to
generate,
to push the water before they get to where we have. And this pump, the function with energy, and the greatest source of energy we use in Cameroon here is supplied by NAO. So it means that if at one point in time there's a problem, a blackout,
it will definitely affect.
Definitely will have problem. Another problem that could be attributed to the scarcity of water is probably vandalism along the pipeline, the network, because there are quarters that have been reported to have stayed to probably of 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, even some years without having water, but simply because a valve has been closed somewhere. A valve has been closed somewhere at one point, so water doesn't get to the quarter. That's why we as water treatment specialists, we advise probably at the level of, if you permit me to give a solution, to advise to the national treatment company to install surveillance, because today there are modern techniques of tracing water in pipelines to know whether water does not reach at that point.
What is the problem?
So there are special equipment that generally
can indicate
they are
on
put
the
on the line, exactly, to tell you that water does not flow at this point, or the rate of water, the flow rate has reduced, or probably a parameter like pH, the pH has varied along the line. For example, the chlorine level has varied, so turbidity has varied. So all those information can be collected in real time, so that if the quarter A tells us that we are not having water, the people at Camwater should be capable of seeing it, because their parameters are actually indicating.
Yes, Madam Ake, you wanted to add something to that.
I wish to come in from the point, the angle of a natural resource and an environmental manager. He's an engineer and speaking from the engineering side of it. Now, when we talk of water scarcity, it is a situation that an area has less available potable water than it demands. And we can look at this from 2 angles, or from 2 points. The scarcity comes in 2 different levels. First of all, we have a situation where there is the growing use of fresh water. The population is increasing, the town is growing bigger.
Demographics.
And and the use of water increases, more people use water for different things. Before, we did not used to have water system, toilets, and all sorts of things. We didn't used to have, the use of water has increased. Yeah, and that cannot be underlooked, because it plays down on the amount of water resources that we have.
So are you saying that maybe when they were putting in place the water system, there was lack of foresight? Because when you're putting in place a system, there are projections to expect that in 5-10 years time the population should increase.
Exactly, and that can be the case of the water stress or shortage or scarcity that we have in Buea and in Bamenda, because they didn't foresee that the population was going to and the population just increased out of nowhere. The towns are
out of nowhere. People are giving birth.
No, they didn't imagine. The universities came in there, and everything the dynamics changed. That's one part of it. That is the usage of water. There is also the depletion of the available resources of water.
Okay.
Yeah, and this brings us to the fact that we have economic scarcity, which is the management of the water. If the water resources are not properly managed, yes, we're going to have water shortages because they are not managed. We accept that we can have the natural side of it, that the resources are not really there.
I was going to come to that.
Now,
what's happening to the water table? Maybe you want
Let's look at climate change. The impact of climate change or climate variability cannot really be overemphasized in these circumstances, because the weather conditions have changed, climate is changing, you have droughts all over the place. If there is drought, the water table drops.
It's going to drop.
The amount of water.
And I think that's what the people in the Far North region are experiencing.
Yeah.
Because there's advancing desert conditions, and of course it's affecting
exactly. Then we also have floods, which are all caused by changes in climate, that's the climate variability. So if there are floods, the water is not available to us. It's not available for use. There's water shortage, there's water scarcity, even though you have water, flowing everywhere, but you don't have available water that we can consume. So there are so many factors. If you want to really look
from the environmental aspect, which is very interesting.
From the environmental
maybe that brings me to my next question, because I wanted to talk about, I often hear water comes from the mountain, water comes from trees. Maybe talk to us more about the water table and what can cause the water table to drop.
Yeah, the water table actually is simply the point, the level at which, the zone at which you have water saturation in the soil. You know, groundwater seeps, it percolates within soil pores or cracks in rocks and all that. Now, when you get to a level where there is saturation, it's complete, it's full. That is when we say that is the water table.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's not confuse this for well levels. It's quite different from the level of the water table.
Okay.
And over extraction, we are extracting
too much.
The water table
is dropping.
It drops. The weather conditions also,
not that favorable, because they are changing.
They are changing. Actually, the groundwater is fed by precipitation. At least not only by precipitation, but precipitation goes a long way.
And today rainfall is no longer predictable.
That is it. It's no longer predictable. Last year,
the amount of rain that was expected.
Yeah, that is right. And with that, you don't have a refill
in the water table. Let me turn to you quickly, Mr. Nono. We are talking about water, and we've seen images from the nation's capital here. Sometimes the water that comes to our taps is not very good. Michael, you're a water treatment specialist. How crucial has it become for us to treat the water we drink?
Okay, I think when I took in my first speech, I was trying to present the problem of water from a general perspective, and presenting the different problems we may have with water, probably at the level, for example, of the soil. we have minerals.
Okay.
If we talk of groundwater,
Yes.
we have minerals. And take note.
And we have a lot of extractive industries, and their activities can affect the quality of water.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Because those extractive, and we should also add that those extractive industry cannot do without water.
Definitely.
Okay, so as I was saying, as water circulates through the ground, it lessivates those minerals. That is, it carries along those minerals in such a way that if you come, you drill, and you have access to that water, you're going to have that water rich with those minerals. For example, the problem you talk of the color.
Yes.
For example, is the major challenge, the major problem we are having in terms of borehole water, probably in most of the quarters here in Douala.
Okay.
The problem of rust. My water is coming with, okay, I have carried my water, I have put it in a pan, in a bowl, and after 5 minutes, it has changed color. It has become brown.
Yes.
Where is that color coming from? It is iron. So when it is still underground, it's not visible.
It's not visible.
When you put
it
it
comes
in the bowl,
out,
there are chemical reaction that goes on, like oxidation. The iron that was not visible. That's why I think the team also talks of making the invisible visible.
And why is it important for us to treat water today?
It is very important for us to treat water because there are elements in water that if we don't remove and we allow them to get accumulated in our system, they are going to give us long-term problems.
Such as?
I can take, for example, lead. Lead is an example of a heavy metal, which is among the heavy metal. If it is allowed to accumulate, if it is allowed to accumulate long enough in our system, it can give us cancer.
Cancer.
That's just to name one. We also have mercury. Those are a series of heavy metal. Cyanide that can be found in water.
And so there's every reason for us to treat water. We are getting
and
towards it.
We should always note this point. It is always obligatory for us to analyze our water.
To know, first of all, what is there, that's not the impurities, and know how to get it out. A lot of people have turned to boreholes, commonly known as forage, for water. But I believe there's so much we don't know about this forage. What do you want people to know about forage?
Okay, first thing, forage, as we say, or in English, borehole. Okay, it's simply a drill that you have done in the soil to have access to an aquifer. An aquifer is simply the rock that contains water on the earth's surface. Let me not say beneath or on the earth's surface, or underground if you want. So when you are drilling, you are simply having access to the water, but you don't know the quality of the water. So when you drill and water comes out, it's clear. I have clear water, I'm drinking. No, you're drinking, what are you drinking? Are you sure? How do you know if there was a mineral deposit, for example, like uranium around? It means you're drinking that uranium.
And earlier on, Madam Ake was talking about the fact that our graveyards can also be some drops. You want to expatiate on that?
Yeah, even our toilets, we have our sewer systems. They have a lot to play because everything that's there seeps and percolates down to the groundwater. So if the water table is low and you have toilets that are all over the place, it doesn't matter if it's forage. Forage is just, as he's saying, you've just had access to water, but the water is not pure water, it's not potable water. So I think that what consumers should know is that it's not because it's from the ground
that makes it potable, fit for drinking.
Fit for drinking. Everything has changed. The dynamics of our environment have changed. Population has changed. Land uses have changed. And groundwater, we cannot really say that the water we are carrying from the ground, particularly in the cities. Maybe if you move to the villages,
it's much better.
There's a high probability that it would be portable. But here in towns, without the pureness of...
Okay, we are wrapping up. Mr. Nono, just one word. You look at your camera, and what word of advice would you give to the government on how to make water more portable for its citizens?
Okay, I think the problem is not at the level of the portability of the water. If you look in terms of
it's
the
both.
water
how portable and how should be available.
Oh, okay. So the first thing, because so far at this point in time, we have been relying only on the national treatment company for the distribution of water in the whole area. So we are proposing, or we are suggesting to the government to open the field to other private individuals who may...
So that there should be some kind of competition. When there's competition, there's more efficiency.
Who can also invest in that field. They could get involved into it, provide the finance to build up water treatment station. Okay, when they treat the water, they sell it probably to the national treatment company,
which now supplies
it now to individuals. We're like proposing, like right now, if do you know where the water you're drinking, do you know where it comes from?
I don't.
The water you're drinking right now comes from Yato. Yato is at the Mungo Bridge going to the southwest region. So it means the water that we're drinking in Douala is treated right there, and it comes right to Douala. So it means this problem of that shortage that we don't have water is because probably if there's an electric failure, it means a pump right there will be unable to send water to the town. So if we could have small sectorial treatment centers center in different areas. Like today we are talking about borehole, we are talking about underground water. We have underground water everywhere. We are in a rainforest.
So bottom line, the government needs to invest and also open the sector for competition. Madam Ake, any last words?
I think I would say it from my environmental point that since you talked about the state making this water portable and available, the state should make sure it checks what goes back into the water, what industries send into the water, what waste management companies, how does ISACAM treat their waste? Do they dump it somewhere that at the end of the day the leachate percolates and gets back into the water? No, all those things. Companies, how do they dispose of their waste? Do they dump it? Where do they dump it? Do they treat it before dumping it? Because these are all the things that contribute.
Bottom line, putting in place an effective mechanism of regulatory
mechanism. Yes, and individuals should also be aware and take care of themselves and try. If you're not able to get an engineer
to treat your
water, you can't treat your water by yourself.
How so?
That's
another topic. But maybe just a quick tip.
Yes, just a quick tip. If you get water in bottles like this, transparent, and you put it on your roof for direct sunlight for 12 hours, you'd have good water that you can drink. There is aqua taps. People don't know. It's just 1,000 francs in pharmacies. A small tablet goes into 20 liters of water.
And of course, we also have filters in the market.
You also have filters, and we can even go back to our natural filters. When we were growing in primary school, we used to have these filters that we used to build, to manufacture. Let me say, so you put charcoal, you put sand, there are different levels, stone, and all. And the water that used to come out.
We can go on and on. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Madam Ake. It was such a pleasure having you. The discussion has really been enriching. And to you, our water treatment specialist, Mr. Nono, it was such a pleasure having you on set.
Thank you so much.
And to all of you who have been watching at home, we say a big thank you. We shall be back again in a fortnight. But for now, it's goodbye and God bless.